Welcome back to The Explainer. So, today, we're actually throwing our usual agenda right out the window. Why? Because we're diving headfirst into an incredibly raw, unfiltered, and deeply visceral text by the author Sir Brevin Bell. We're going to explore his highly unorthodox, philosophical pursuit of purpose and really unpack this chaotic stream of consciousness that tries to answer some of the absolute most profound questions of human existence. Let's kick things off with this absolutely jarring quote directly from the text, "Beatings before nirvana." I mean, just let that sink in for a second. It instantly sets up the author's central thesis, right? He's arguing that to reach any kind of creative ecstasy or any sense of true peace and enlightenment, you literally have to endure the agonizing, repetitive pain of existence first. You don't just, peacefully meditate your way to nirvana in his world. You are beaten into it by life itself.
Now, to really wrap our heads around this philosophy, we've got to talk about the guy behind it, Sir Brevin Bell. He actually calls himself a poet, writer, intellect, and, his words, not mine, a defiant fuck. His whole aesthetic is incredibly intense, completely unpolished, and just raw. And honestly, that perfectly mirrors his writing style. He totally rejects traditional formatting and grammar. Instead, he opts for this chaotic, deeply expressive stream of consciousness. He's definitely not writing for the establishment. He is writing straight from the gut.
Okay, let's dive right into part one, the weight of insignificance, the cycle of struggle. So, before we even get close to talking about creation or nirvana, we have to understand where this author is starting from, his baseline. For him, everyday reality isn't just, boring. It carries this literal crushing weight. He writes about how physiological exhaustion horribly haunts him. And this isn't just being tired after a long day at the office. No, it's a deep spiritual exhaustion that consumes you when you feel like you've completely lost your purpose. It really taps into that universal human dread of waking up, realizing you have no idea why you're doing any of this, and just feeling totally vulnerable to apathy and addiction. It's like he's trapped in this crazy intense duality. On one hand, he's stuck in this mundane existence, battling what he describes as an apathy deep within his intestines and brushing right up against addiction. But on the flip side, he is absolutely starving for what he calls savory significance. He's chasing this state of complete gut, heart, mind congruency. So he's imprisoned by the mundane, but intensely, relentlessly hungry for something profound. Which brings us to a thought that perfectly captures this raw, expressive tone. He says, "This whole life is fraudulent and imprisoning. My grumbling soul lives contemptuously in my gut's lining." Notice how biological, how physical his language is here. For him, existential dread isn't just some abstract thought floating around in his head. It's a literal physical sensation. His soul is actually grumbling in the lining of his stomach. He physically feels the absolute meaninglessness of the everyday tasks society expects him to do. And what actually are these daily tasks? Like, what are the specific beatings he keeps referring to? Well, they're actually remarkably ordinary. It's catching the flu and feeling it bite down on you. It's the daily routine of swallowing colorful prescription pills. It's the sheer repetitive absurdity of having to go grocery shopping just to buy water. It's watching your bills slowly strip all your resources away. He takes these incredibly mundane, frankly boring realities and elevates them into profound philosophical beatings. It's as if life is just constantly beating him down with errands and illness.
Moving on to part two, Echoes of Literary Giants, the Antithesis.
Now, what's really fascinating is how he combats this heavy, crushing insignificance. He anchors his manic thoughts to absolute legends of literature. He references Charles Bukowski's gritty realism, Friedrich Nietzsche's intense philosophy on power and suffering, Aleister Crowley's occultish boundary-pushing, and Goethe's classic quest for infinite knowledge in Faust. He's literally standing on the shoulders of these quirky, bold pioneers who also wrestled with the agonizing weight of existence.
But here's the thing. He isn't just, casually reading these guys before bed. He explicitly states the task at hand is to consume healthfully their work and create from that digestion. There's that visceral, biological language again. He's literally digesting their chaotic energy. He consumes Nietzsche, Bukowski, and Crowley, processes their philosophical nutrients through his own personal suffering, and uses it all to forge a completely distinct, defiant artistic identity. Which leads us to part three, creation as nirvana, the synthesis. All right, this is the crucial turning point. This is where he takes all those daily beatings and channels them into the literal, physical act of creation. Through his incredibly unique lens, nirvana isn't some peaceful, quiet Buddhist retreat. Not at all. Nirvana is an expression.
It's a space that is forcefully held. And most importantly, he argues that it's a state you can only achieve after suffering with consent. You literally have to accept the beatings. You have to let life batter you so that your soul can ultimately grow and reach this hard-won ecstasy.
And this next idea brilliantly illustrates what happens when he finally hits that state through his art. He says, "My writing is gut, heart, mind congruency, a flowing, gushing, grand river." The act of writing itself becomes his ultimate release. All that physical pain, the apathy in his intestines, the flu, the bills, it all suddenly aligns. His chaotic, messy feelings are brought into perfect harmony through the simple yet profound act of putting words onto a page.
Now, because his personal nirvana is born out of this really gritty struggle, he absolutely rejects anything clinical or institutionalized. He sees his own creations as a full-on rebellion, calling them glorious and vile, flying on Satan's dove's wings. Contrast that with how he views formal education. Professors and universities are frauds. He has zero interest in some sanitized academic approach to life or art. For him, true wisdom only comes from the dirt, the pain, and the actual digestion of the real world.
Yet, despite all this grandiose, almost mythical philosophy he builds up, he drops a deeply surprising admission in the text. He writes, "I write for me, these diaries." I mean, think about that. Despite citing Nietzsche and Goethe, despite claiming his writing as a gushing grand river, his quest for purpose is entirely inward. He isn't trying to change the whole world. He's really just trying to save himself from that crushing weight of insignificance. It's just a deeply personal search for divine union.
As we wrap up today's explainer, I really want to turn Sir Brevin Bell's gritty, uncompromising philosophy back onto you. We all face the weight of mundane reality, right? We all have our own version of grocery shopping for water and stressing over the bills. So the question remains, what beatings must you endure? And more importantly, how are you going to synthesize that struggle to find your own personal nirvana? Thank you so much for hanging out with me to explore this incredibly raw text. Keep questioning, keep digesting, and I'll see you in the next explainer.